Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 16th Selenium WebDriver tutorial. Again, my name is Abhilash, and in the previous tutorial we have seen how we can find the web page element using the ID attribute, and how we can click on the web page element using the Selenium WebDriver. So in this tutorial we will be looking into some more methods of locating web page elements. So let's get started with this. So we will be working on this login page today in this tutorial, and let's open Firebug. And as you can see, we have this inspect element, and we can hover over any of the web page element in order to find the HTML source. So basically we will be working with this password text box. So basically, as you can see, it is the input element of the HTML, and it contains some attributes such as ID, class, name, title. So we are going to use these information or whatever data that is present in this HTML source code, and we'll see how we can use the different locating methods and how we can use it in Selenium WebDriver. So basically, in order to effectively use the locating methods, we can quickly open our Selenium IDE. So the very first thing is we are going to copy the URL of this page on Selenium IDE base URL. So as we have seen in the previous tutorial, one of the locating methods is using the ID of the web page element. So what we can do is we can type ID equals the ID of the web page element. So let's just copy this and its password. So if we click on find, as you can see, the text box will be highlighted in yellow. So basically Selenium ID helps us in order to find out the web page element based on the locating methods that we are using. So this is as far as ID of the web page element is concerned. We can use some more other attributes that are present in the HTML source code. Say for suppose we can use the class. In this case it is PWORD. So let's copy this, and class equals paste. So whatever the attribute name is, we can quickly copy the name and the value of the attribute based on the HTML source code. So basically ID and class. So as you can see, if I click on this find button, it gets highlighted the web page element. So basically it for now we have learned the two locating methods, that is locating by ID and locating by class name. The third common way of locating the web page element is using the name if it is present. So basically for the most part we have these locating methods. We can use them only when these attributes are present in the HTML source code. So based on the attributes that is present on the HTML source code, we need to decide which attribute we are going to use in order to locate that particular web page element. So let's quickly use name equals PWORD, that is password. So again, if you find, you can see it is getting highlighted. So basically we can also use the name attribute of the web page element. So this is as far as ID, class name, and name attribute of a web page element is concerned. So one more important locating method of Selenium is using CSS. So basically it makes use of CSS selectors. So we just have to mention CSS on the left hand side equal to. Now this CSS, it can be anything on the right hand side, like it can be a ID of the web page element, it can be a class name, or it can be any other attribute. So in order to mention it, so if suppose we are using ID, so the ID is always preceded by a hash character. So basically whenever we are going to use ID, we are supposed to precede the ID of the web page element with a hash character. So after hash we can type the ID. So this means that using the CSS, and this hash means it is going to check for the ID attribute of the HTML web page element. So basically in the HTML source code it will find the ID, which is password in this case. So if you click on find, it gets highlighted. So basically if you are using CSS and if the ID of the web page element is present, so basically what we can do is we can proceed with the character, that is hash, and we can mention the ID of the web page element. Similarly we can also use the class using the CSS attribute. So basically for class we need to proceed it with the period, that is a dot, and then followed by the class name. So in this way it will find the required web page element for which the class name is pword. Okay, so basically for ID we use hash, and for class we use dot, that is period. It's a full stop. And one more method using CSS is we can make use of any other attribute. Say suppose we have this name attribute as pword. So basically if you do not have any ID or class name for a particular tag in the HTML source code, what we can do is we can mention CSS equals the tag name, that is input, then open square brackets, then name of the any attribute, that is in this case let's say suppose we will find using the name attribute equals single quotes, then the name is pword, then close the quotes and close the square brackets. So basically the format is we mention the tag name, and inside the square brackets we have the name of the attribute equals to, inside the single quotes we have the value of that particular attribute that we are going to search for. So basically if in case there is no ID and class name for a particular HTML tag, we can make use of any other attribute and it will find it for you using the CSS selector property. So if you click on find, it finds the password. So similarly we can make use of title. So this is just a text that will be displayed when you hover over the text box. So I have copied this title, and basically instead of this name equals pword value, we can make use of title equals, inside a single quotes we have this enter password, and if you click on find, you can see it is getting highlighted. So basically in this way we can make use of different locating methods, such as using the ID, class name, then the name attribute, and we can also make use of the CSS property of the HTML element. So basically these are some of the locating methods that you can use quickly in order to locate the web page elements. So that's it in this tutorial. We'll catch you guys in the next tutorial. Have a nice one.